Hello and welcome to Briefly Everything, where we discuss history, but on a timeline so everyone can follow along and so that you can impress everyone at any dinner party. Now, today we'll start 1060 BC, and we won't really move too far in the timeline. We'll mainly discuss the Assyrian Empire, and then we'll move on to China. Okay, so starting off 1060 BC. Last time we heard from the Assyrians, they were one of the few civilizations that didn't fall along with the Bronze Age collapse. Instead, these guys were able to capitalize on the others' demise, growing even stronger actually. 1060 BC is an interesting year for these guys, as the Assyrian emperor Ashur-bel-kala, whose very name actually means Azur is Lord of all. No questions asked. Ashur-bel-kala had actually built the world's first known botanical garden and zoo for that matter. We'll get back to these guys in about 100 years. I just wanted to mention that quickly to you now and remind you of the mere existence of the Assyrians, who were very fierce around this time. Now moving down to 1046 BC, where we'll actually stay for the rest of this episode. Let's venture now to over here in China. The Shang Dynasty is about to fall, as a leader Zhou with his outnumbered army of 50,000 attacked Shang's capital city Anyang in northern China. The Shang Dynasty enslaved many people and were known as cruel oppressors. During the Shang Dynasty, people were actually burnt a lot as a punishment simply, and they kept a lot of slaves, these Shang people. So Zhou's fortunes drastically changed when 170,000 Shang slaves that had been armored to protect the city defected and helped Zhou overthrow Shang instead. When the Shang people were gone, that dynasty ended and will welcome in a new one, the Zhou Dynasty. So this is quite a big moment in Chinese history here. We're starting off with a completely new dynasty here, the Zhou Dynasty. Unlike the king of Shang, who ruled a very centralized state, the Zhou now let many different semi-independent feudal states run themselves, which would lead to a lot of domestic warfare. So probably thanks to these not so dictatorial methods, the Zhou Dynasty was able to actually outlast everyone else, and they lasted for almost 800 years. Later dynasties wouldn't even last half that long. And at this point, I just want to address how who writes our history shapes the way we interpret it, as we talk about the mandate of heaven. Essentially, if you rule improperly, the heaven removes your mandate, and that's how you'll eventually lose your power. This way, we can easily justify why dynasties fall in retrospect. For instance, it's described how the Zhou Dynasty, probably a very fictional one, lost their mandate because they had orgies in Mingtao. Pretty specific stuff there from the heavens. And subsequently, the Shang now also lost its mandate to the Zhou because it was reported they roasted and served their opponents in lunchboxes. In all honesty, much of this seems quite unreasonable, but it's still the history that we've got, and it conveniently explains some very messy political history. And even more importantly, it points to the moral behavior that will become the cornerstone in Confucianism, which we'll get to in about 500 years from now. Lastly, depending on how you interpret history, you might have heard about these dynasties. According to some, the first dynasty is the Qin Dynasty, which gave us the name China actually even, which starts 220 BCE, preceding the Zhou Dynasty. However, it's good to know about these three previous ones, in which case there's the Xiao Dynasty that we've just mentioned, probably the made up one, then the Shang, and then the ones who overthrew the Shang, the Zhou. And then official history starts, according to some, 220 BCE with the Qin Dynasty. And that's where I'll leave you today. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you thoroughly enjoyed that session. Now we've discussed the Assyrian Empire, but only briefly, because this is Briefly Everything. Got you on that one. And then we moved over here to 1046 in China, where the Shang Dynasty was overthrown by the leader Zhou, hence starting the Zhou Dynasty. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.